Hey everyone, this is David. Welcome back behind the velvet. Let's just get right into it today because we are joined by the one, the only Miss Margaret Cho.
Hi.
How are you? What is going on? Happy New Year. Welcome.
Happy New Year. Oh, wait, I lost you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay,
you.
sorry. Are you a New Year's person? Do you do like this major, like it's the start of the year, let me do my New Year's resolutions?
No, I actually don't have any resolutions. I'm not like a necessarily like a holiday kind of person really either. Um, if I could have a holiday, I think I would just like to have Halloween every day. So I love candy and horror movies and black cats and but there, I like the idea of like a reset. So New Year's is a kind of like it's an exciting idea that we could reset, although it feels like we went back in time. It feels like, now it's 2020 again, which is very weird.
It's a little weird. I'm not a holiday person either. The worst is my birthday, and New Year's is probably the absolute worst. So we are so aligned as far as that goes.
Yes.
Well, listen, new year, new Hulu film. I've watched Sex Appeal. I loved it.
Oh, great. Yes, I love it. It's really fun.
Tell me about how you got involved with this. Ma Deb, she's one of the three mothers in this film. It's so fun.
I love it. And I just got the script and I fell in love with it. It just was so funny and just so interesting. It's something like I love the genre of the coming of age film. And I love movies like this. And, I love like this take on it. This is a new take on weird science. It's like a new take on the John Hughes classic films of the 80s, where you have a totally female centric, totally feminist, and really great, interesting story that's coming out of a place that, needs to happen, but it's also a classic genre.
When I was watching this, I literally had in big capitals as well. I'm like, John Hughes. This reminds me of like the old school John Hughes movies.
Yes. And but in a way that's like a really great update, a reimagining of it, where John Hughes movies were always really important to me, but when I look back, I think about how problematic they are. How difficult it is to kind of come to terms with the race issues, with the weirdness that he's kind of embodying so much interest in this young girl. And it is like an older person looking at a younger person. Whereas this film is really of like, let's all grow up together.
I would agree with all of that. Like when you do look back at some of the John Hughes films, you're like, does this really withstand the test of time? Like we're in a different period. And when you look back, I mean, they're classics, but.
Well, you always have to look back at all film in the same way of like, I guess in the way that certain things can't really age. In the way that we would like them to. But this is a good way of kind of like taking all the things that we love about films like that and updating it.
Speaking of John Hughes and films from the past, when you look back to the beginning of your career, like coming onto the comedy scene in San Francisco and, opening for Jerry Seinfeld and, appearing in The Golden Palace, which was a great show.
Yes.
Does that seem like, yesterday to you? Do you have vivid memories of that time? Or are you like, who is that woman?
Oh, it both feels like yesterday and I don't know her. Like it's like a very weird thing where I remember all of them very clearly, but at the same time, I can't believe I did that. When I was on Golden Palace, which was the spinoff to the Golden Girls, without B. Arthur. And so that show had everything in it. It had three of the Golden Girls, of course, Betty White and Estelle and Rue. And then it had Don Cheadle.
Right.
And it had Cheech Marin. And Quentin Tarantino actually was on it earlier in the season that I was in. playing an Elvis impersonator, which is such a crazy thing. So that was our sitcom thing that we shared. But yeah, I really loved being on that show. It was one of my first jobs that I ever did. And Betty White was so iconic because she was actually pretty young. I mean, she was like probably in her 70s at that point, but seemed so youthful and just with a tight, hard, like 80s body and like slim flare pants. And she had a water bottle that she had in a net on a sling. So very bandolier style before iPhones. It was very cool.
Betty White ahead of her time, right?
She was way ahead of her time in so many ways. And, you know, I've gotten to meet her and I wish that she could have been around to see 100. I actually participated in the 100th birthday celebration.
Oh, wow. So
we had done that all like over the past year. And so hopefully, I mean, I know that it'll still be out there, but it would have been great to have her there to share it.
I know, like so close. Yeah. And Golden Palace was one of those shows like gone before its time. It was so good. It should have lasted longer.
Well, we needed B. Arthur. That's the thing is that B. Arthur was really such the important element that, you know, she was Maude before everybody else. You know, she was really a star. So I think that's what they needed.
I think so. Well, another show gone before its time was All American Girl, ABC.
Right.
You know, like when you look back and I've read a lot of things and I've heard all the interviews you've done, you know, where, you know, you've talked about how like the network said, you know, you were too Asian, you were not Asian enough, you were too overweight. I mean, like, how do these conversations, you know, I mean, would this show, like, let's picture 2022, like, what if All American Girl, like this show was so ahead of its time? Like, I think today it would be such a hit.
It would have been. I mean, but it, you know, this was like in 1994. So this is like 28 years ago almost.
Right.
You know, it's a very different time and something that I wonder if I would have like stayed with comedy. If the show had been a success and had a long run, I don't know if I would have worked on my stand-up comedy as much as I did. So in a sense, it's a trade-off. And I feel like the career that I have now has been far more enduring. I don't know, like, I think, oh, well, if the show had gone on to do a lot more, then maybe we would have had more Asian American presence in television and film from then on, you know, because after All American Girl was canceled, there really was no Asian American representation on television for another 20 something years. So, you know, it's really like, I wish that we had done more, but at the same time, maybe I wouldn't have done as much as a comedian.
That's such a good point. I didn't even think of it that way. Right. Because you would have been, you know, a quote unquote TV star and could have gone on to God knows how long that show could have lasted and you could have gotten other roles and who knows. I would have had my own cruise line. I would have had my own golf classic. Who knows? All of the lesbian businesses that I could Seriously.
have had a signature Crocs. You know, a collaboration. I could a Crocs Loewe collab.
I love it, but then we wouldn't have had the one that I want. So I mean, What would we do without that?
Right. So it's like I don't think I would have worked as hard as a comedian. I don't think I would have been inspired or wouldn't have needed to go back to like really trying to develop because I was a comedian before then, but I had just done a lot of like television and just started headlining. So I wasn't really as experienced at taking my life experiences because I basically had none. I was 24 and I had so little to kind of go on. And doing television really kind of gave me an education in life. And so it helped me be a better comedian overall.